and we're the first brothers.
And brothers, brothers and brothers.
Brothers and brothers.
All right, so we have a special edition of On Our Way here. I am in Las Vegas with the proprietor of Le Portier and Club Shay, Shannon Sharpe. Thank you so much, man.
Man, thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Really
appreciate you coming
the
out.
opportunity. Absolutely. Elephant in the room, your brother is inducted into the Hall of Fame. And I know we talked a little bit about it when we did the interview for Forbes. It hadn't happened yet. So I guess, I don't want to start off with a tearjerker, but tell me backstage, before you came out on stage with him, what was the conversation like? What were you feeling in that moment?
Well, it was about to come down to however long his speech was. I had no idea how long his speech was going to be, but it was going to be a culmination. This had been from the time my grandparents brought us down to rural South Georgia in 1970. I was 2, he was 5, my sister was 10. So everything that our grandparents had instilled, everything that we had done up until that point, the validation, the vindication of all the hard work that he had put in to becoming the best possible football player he could become, was about to reach the crescendo. He was about to thank the people that had helped him, because you're the one that's getting the gold jacket, but so many people participated in this moment, and this was going to be his opportunity to thank all those people that helped guide him along the way. And I was like, man, God ain't good. God is great, because he was on the flip side in 2011 when I went in. So being on the other side now, getting ready to sit there and listen to him give his speech, I know what he was feeling. He knew what I was feeling, because the roles were reversed 14 years prior. And it was just great. The first brothers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. You're talking about a league that's over 100 years old. So many brothers have played this game. 25, 30,000 men have played, coached, been a general manager, participated in some form of the NFL. And, there are less than 400 gold jackets. I'm 267. I think he's 382. And we're the first brothers.
And brothers, brothers and brothers.
Brothers and brothers. And so it was just a great feeling. And my mom was there in attendance, and my sister and my coach that not only coached me and my brother, but coached my mom, coached all my uncles. It was just such a great feeling to know that, wow, we did something really, really special. There'll be other brothers that make the Pro Football Hall of Fame, but there'll never be a first.
That's right.
That belongs to Sterling and Shannon Sharpe.
Who do you think is going to be next? Before we jump into more about your brother, who do you think is going to be next as far as siblings? I mean,
probably the Mannings.
You think so?
Yeah, Peyton is already in.
Yep.
The Watts will get in.
Kelce's.
JJ and TJ will get in. The Kelces will get in. Yeah. But if you had to guess, because Eli was on the ballot last year, and I think he was a finalist, so I think JJ still has a couple of years to go. TJ is still playing, so it's a while.
Kelce's still playing.
Kelsey, Trav is still playing, so it's a ways down the road for them. So for me, I think Peyton and Eli will probably be the next
ones.
Pair of brothers.
It's well documented that your reverence for your brother. So, bring me back to your childhood. You said you moved to rural South Georgia when you were 5 and he was 5. Have you always had that much reverence for him? Because, I mean, you love him like hard. It's clear.
Yeah. Yes. I've always wanted to be like my brother. I can honestly say he's the only man that I've ever wanted to be like. My sister used to get so upset because whatever he would wanted to go buy, I would buy. So if we went to the store and he bought chips, I would buy the exact same chips. I would buy the exact same soda. So whatever he got, I got. When it came to school clothes, I wanted the same school clothes he's got. And she was like, Shannon, y'all not twins. You need to be. She used to tell me all the time, Shannon, be your own man. Shannon, be your own man. And she told me that, until he went to college in 1983. And then, I was going to be a sophomore in high school. But that was really, and then, obviously we couldn't talk because it was very expensive to call back then. And so it was just, I would catch the Greyhound to go see him. When we had spring break, I would get on the Greyhound bus. My sister would drive me to Claxton. That's where the Greyhound bus was, because at that time it had stopped coming through Glenville. So she would drive me like 20, probably, I think it's like 20 miles. I would catch the Greyhound bus. A 3-hour car drive turned into a 6-hour bus drive because they stop at every little small town in between. And it seemed like they were stopping in people's driveway, and they would come out and get on the bus.
This is the
And
80s.
yeah. And so he would come to the bus station to pick me up, and I would stay in his room while he had to go stay out, stay in the hotel the night before the game. But it was just great. So yes, I've always had that reverence to him, and it's kind of like, and I tell people, our relationship is very, very unique. It's more like he and my sister are more like my father and my mother, because they did all the things that a father and mother would do. My mother was in Chicago. My father was in Virginia. My father died when I was 13. But everything, like help tying my shoe and doing all this stuff, helping me get dressed and teach me how to brush my teeth, how to give myself a bath. They taught me all those things. And so the reverence for my brother and sister has always been there. So it's not something that, and it was always just us. For the longest time, we were one of those families that didn't go to a whole lot of people's home. We didn't play, I didn't get an opportunity to play with a whole lot of other kids. My cousins would come over like on the fourth Sunday or things like that for the holidays, and we get an opportunity to play with them. But for the most part, it was just he and I. So we were playing football against each other. We were playing basketball against each other. We was coming up with crazy games playing against each other. And so it was always just he and I. And so we've always been close.
Who loves football first? I know he has 3 years on you, but I know you both played multiple sports. So was it you saying, you know what, football's for me? And he's just like, oh, I'm feeling, basketball, track and field. Obviously, we know which way he went. Who fell in love with football first?
I think we both loved the game, but I started playing first.
Okay.
He didn't play until I had been playing probably 3 or 4 years before he started playing. Um, and neither of us would have been able to play had our grandfather been alive, because my uncles, one broke his collarbone, one broke his leg, one broke his ankle, and he said that was it. So he wasn't going to allow us to play, because at that time, he had a farm, and my uncles was free labor. You can't work on a farm if you got a broken collarbone, you got a broken leg or a broken ankle. And he wasn't going to run that risk with us, so we weren't going to be able to play. But my grandfather passed in 1977. I ended up started playing football in 1979, and I think my brother started playing, I think his 8th grade year. So I started playing in the 4th grade, 4th and 5th, and I think he started playing maybe in like the 8th or the 9th grade. So, but I think we both love the game of football, because, we'd watch it. Remember watching it on Thanksgiving, and we'd watch it on Sunday, and like, man, it'd be great to do that, man. And once I saw it, and then I remember like hearing about how much they made. I think they were making like $50,000-$60,000,
Which is a lot of money back.
Crazy,
Lot of money
which was
back then,
crazy money back then. I was
Especially
like,
the
yeah,
South.
yeah. I was like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I want to do. That's what I want to do.
What was your first position for you and your brother? What was the first positions you played in football, or did you go out, both of you, for a receiver?
Well, I was
Wideouts.
always fast, but I've played every position. I started out as wide receiver, then I moved to running back. I went from running back to the offensive line.
Really?
Yeah, I was an offensive guard and a center, and then when I got, I think, then I moved to tight end, wide receiver. Then I played that running back. So I was a running back, tight end, wide receiver. And then I ended up backing my brother up. So by the time I got to high school, I was a freshman, he was a senior. I was his backup.
Okay.
I got in some because, we'd be winning and then they put me in. I ain't really getting no yards, no touchdown or anything like that. So my sophomore year, my junior year, I was a running back. And then one day I was like, I ended up getting tackled in the backfield.
You're done? I ain't taking no hit no more?
No, I was done because I got tired of the lineman talking about my bad. They had missed the block. I said, nah, you know what? Don't worry about it. I said, let me move to a position. I know where they're coming from. I have my spidey senses are tingling. So I moved to tight end. I remember telling the coach, I said, Coach, if I can't play tight end, I'm done with football. I say, I'm done with just getting hit in the backfield. My bad, guys missing assignments, missing blocks. I said, I'm done with this. They let me move to tight end, and I made All-State. Had a lot of offers, and that was kind of how football took off for me.
Why tight end? I mean, and with all the respect, I feel tight end now has become sexy in large
Uh-huh.
part because of you.
Right.
I'll be 45 in a couple months, so I remember back. You're like tight end,
Yeah.
what is that?
Right.
So like why tight end?
Well, I don't know why tight end, because I could have easily been a wide
I
receiver.
mean, a lot of people argue you
Yeah,
kind of were. I mean, the way
yeah.
you line.
And that was the thing. I was a tight end in high school, and then I got went to Savannah State as a wide receiver.
Mhm.
My sophomore year, they moved me back to tight end because the tight end that we had at the time, who was amazing, he was academically ineligible,
Mhm.
and because I was the biggest receiver, and Coach Davis, rest his soul, he moved me to tight end. So I played tight end that year, and then I was conference player of the year. I was Black College All-American. And then coach is like, I'm gonna move you back to wide receiver. I'm like, coach, he's like, I just think you'd be better served at wide receiver. I think, when you get an opportunity, because son, you're gonna go play in the league.
Mhm.
He said, I think it'll better serve you at the wide receiver position. So who knew that playing tight end for 1 year in high school, playing tight end 1 year in college, ultimately that would be my position, getting drafted as a wide receiver. And then halfway through that year, all the tight ends get hurt. My rookie year, Coach Reeves comes to me and asks me would I be willing to switch. They put me in there, and the rest is, as they say, is history.
Yeah, all the way to the Hall of
Yeah,
Fame.
all the way to the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
When you got drafted, was there any disappointment, or would you have loved to play with your brother on the team?
No, no,
No.
I didn't want to play. I didn't want to play with him because at that point in time, now I was started to make a name for myself, and my brother Shadow never overshadowed me
Mhm.
because I didn't feel the pressure because I embraced it.
Mhm.
And so for me, it was just an opportunity to show. And I used to tell people, and when they told me, man, you're not as good as your brother, man. Your brother, ooh, he the real deal. I'm like, okay, y'all gonna see.
Mhm.
Y'all gonna see. Because I remember my high school coach, my senior year, and they would ask my high school coach, Coach Hall, they're like, Hall, you got any more of them Sharpe boys? He said, unfortunately,
That's
this
it.
is it. he said, I wish I had a couple of more, but this is it. But no, because I didn't. I think at that point in time, it was time for me to be my own person.
Mhm.
To be, even though I still admire my brother, I still, I ended up. I went to when I got to Denver, they gave me 81, and as soon as I could get 84, I remember going up and talking to Coach Reeves. I said, Coach Reeves, because at the time Ricky Nattil had number 84. I said, Coach, if Ricky doesn't come back, uh, uh, can I get 84? He's like, sure. And I found out he wasn't coming back. I called. I said, Coach Reed, can I get 84?
Mhm.
He's like, yep. So I called. He said, just call the equipment. Tell him you want 84. They gave me 84 because that was the number that he wore. And that was it. But we had the same numbers in high school. He wore number 3. I wore number 3. He had number 2 in college. That was one of the precursors that I had. I said, Coach, I want number 2. Because at the time he had number 2. And as they say, the rest is, so we pretty much had the same numbers of our whole careers.
I'm old enough to remember, but I feel like a lot of people that are going to watch this are not old enough to remember how good, how great was Sterling Sharpe. And before you answer, I just want to look at this camera and tell you, I remember when he was cooking Jerry Rice. Jerry, I love you. He was cooking him. I was just like, what? Sterling Sharpe did what? The Green Bay Pack. I mean, he was cooking him.
Yeah.
So how good was he?
It was hard for me because I think it's like with any superstar.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see him as that. I see him as my brother.
Yeah.
We grew up together. We ate the same food. We did a lot of the same things. So I didn't see him as that. I couldn't understand, like, man, what are they talking about? I mean, and people would say, man, your brother just as good as Jerry, man, your brother, so forth and so on. But I'm looking like, that's my brother. So it was hard. It wasn't until he was away that I really got an appreciation for just how good he was. Then it really dawned on me because as I started to play and put up numbers, I'm like, man, I ain't even close to the numbers that he put up. But it didn't dawn on me that I was a tight end and I wasn't supposed to be putting up the kind of numbers that he's putting up, and that I wasn't getting the opportunities. But once he was done from the game, and you look back and you're like, damn. 18 touchdowns in the season, over 100 catches, the first to go back-to-back with a 100-catch season, to lead the league in catches 3 times in a 7-year span. Then I got an appreciation for just how good he was, and then understood what people saw and how, like they saw Jerry Rice, they saw my brother, they saw Michael Irvin, they saw these other great receivers. They saw him in the same light, but he was just my brother. It's like when my kids were growing up, my kids didn't look like, man, your dad's your dad. I was just dad.
Yeah.
So they didn't look at me as anything special. That's like, he's gonna make us go to bed at a certain time. He's gonna make sure we eat. And so that's how it was with my brother. I didn't understand just how special he was.
Separate, your brothership from him for a second with this next question, because you're a receiver and obviously you're in the Hall of Fame, so you can answer this question. Jerry Rice had Montana, and then he had Young. Your brother had Favre, and he could have had Rodgers. Try to project the numbers in the career. I think he might have caught Jerry.
I don't know if he'd have been able to be around for Rodgers.
Okay.
Because Rodgers didn't start until 2008, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Because I think Rodgers came in 05,
Okay.
06. So, my brother would have been long gone because my brother got drafted in 1988. So that'd have been 21 seasons.
Okay. All right.
So, but if he would have had Favre at the start of his career, well, we saw what he had with Favre in 3 years. I think he had 314 catches. I think he had 18, 14, 12, so 30, 46 touchdowns. The numbers would have been astronomical. He had he had Don Mikowski for a couple of years. He had Anthony Dillwig, Mike Tomczak. So he had guys that could get him the ball, but he didn't have a Hall of Famer. And a lot of those receivers that put up those numbers, Jerry put up numbers. He had a Hall of Famer. Mike had a Hall of Fame quarterback. So normally when you put up numbers as a wide receiver, you normally have someone really special throwing you the football. But and I think those numbers, I'm not saying he would have, because Jerry just every single year. But if you go back and look at the numbers that Antonio Freeman put up with Favre, you look at the numbers that Robert Brooks put up with Favre, those would have been my brother's numbers. So there were some 1,500 catch seasons in there. There were some 90, 100 catch seasons in there. So I there's no question in my mind. He had 595 catches in 7 seasons, over 8,000 yards. So he'd have been a 15,000 yard, at least 1,000 catch season. Had he had, even if he had just had 7 years with Favre, he had 3 years with Favre. So
the way he used his gunsling.
Yeah. So it would have been special. And but I don't think he's ever really thought about it. He's never mentioned to me that, man, if I'd have had Favre for 7 years, or if I'd have had Favre for 6 years, he's never said that. He's never, he accepted his fate. He's like, man, look, all I want to do is play in the NFL. So if somebody told me I was going to make the NFL, I was going to play 1 year, I would have gladly accepted it. But it was only in the cards for me to play 7 years. So how can I be mad when I only wanted to play 1 and I got 7?
Talk to me about your career. Were you a better receiver or a better smack talker? Because your smack talking on the field is legendary. I mean, you talk people out of their game on the field.
I think that comes from my grandmother. Because my grandmother used to tell us how bad she beat us fishing, and she would brag. My grandmother was she was a very humble lady. When it came to fishing, they can't beat me. She used to tell us how the boys couldn't outrun her. And so I think that came from we got a lot of that from her. Now my brother didn't really do a whole lot of talking, but I did. And ever since we played, sports is very competitive. I'm better than you. I can outrun you. I can outdo this better than you. And so it was just a natural part of the game. And then going to an HBCU, man, if you can't if you can't joke or take a joke, HBCUs aren't for you.
You transfer out quick.
You got to get up out of there. And so that was just a part of it. But I understood that me doing all this talking, my play need to back up my talk.
You mentioned your grandmother, and I know right here we have Le Portier after Mary Porter, yes?
Correct.
So I'm sure this is an easy question, but I'm just curious. Why did you decide to name your spirit after your grandmother? And what does that mean to you?
Well, I think one of the most influential people When my grandmother raised her 9, takes my mom's 3, raised them as if they're her own, loved them probably more than she did her own. What do you how do you say thank you to the woman that gave you everything but life? But the life that you know was because of her. I wanted something that could stand the test of time, even after I'm gone and my kids and my grandkids are gone. People will ask and they say, well, what is Le Portier? Well, that was named after Shannon Sharpe's grandmother. That's what I wanted. Um, that was what my speech was about because a whole lot of people, yeah, if you're from that area, from Glenville, you know who she was, you know what she looked like. But my job on that stage that night was to give Mary Porter a voice and give Mary Porter a face. This does both.
Did you and your brother, obviously not to get too personal, did you guys have a moment recently where in spirit your grandmother was there, you guys had a little toast to her, you said your mother was in attendance.
Uh-huh.
Either before or after, did you two just sit down by yourselves, no one else there, and have a moment?
We did actually on we were getting ready to go out and
To the stage.
to the stage
Okay.
before because he had to walk around and go to the other side and come out that way, and I was coming out this way. And I remember giving him a hug, and he said, "Man, Mary and Barney did a good job." He said, "I know they're proud." I said, "Yeah, extremely." And she, sports was really the last thing she could really care less. She really wanted us to be good people. I think her greatest enjoyment came from when we would come home and the people would say, "Mary, you did a great job with those boys. They're so humble. They're so mannerable. It's yes, sir. It's no, sir. It's yes, ma'am. It's no, ma'am." They hold the door open for us. That's what she was proudest of. But there are times that we're still talking. We talk on the phone, and I'll be like, "Man, you remember when Granny said this?" And we laugh. Or you remember Granny did this? Or you remember Papa said this? But there's not very many times that we actually talk on the phone that there's not a conversation had, or at least a moment when we think about our grandparents.
No, I love that. I mean, again, the reverence that you have for your brother, I think is just slightly, in my opinion, surpassed that you have for your grandmother.
I don't know. I think for me, like I slept in the bed with my grandmother until I was 15. Um, I didn't really go out or do anything when I was in high school. We play a game. Guys like, "Hey, Sharp, what you gonna do?" I'm going home because my grandmother was home alone. My sister's dating age, and so she was out. Um, my aunt had an aunt that was living at home with us, and so I would make sure because everybody that like if I played a sport, you had to understand. Not only did you have to take me home, you had to take my aunt home, who was going to be riding. So my sister would drop her off at the game, and I would, game was over. We get dressed, and then I was like, "Okay, Jane, come on." And then she would, get in the bus with us or get in the van with us, be it football, basketball, track. It didn't matter. Whatever it was, that was the understanding that if Shannon was going to participate in said sport, you had to give Shannon's aunt a ride home also. Um, and so for me, it was always do what I needed to do in each sport, but get home as quick as I could for Granny. So it was tough because I know what she did, um, trying to provide for you know me, my brother, my sister. I know working at the nursing home, the very nursing home that she spent her final days in, um, cleaning people's home. Um, I just wanted to make money so she didn't have to do that. I that's what I wanted to make money for. I just wanted my grandmother to have a life where she's like, you know what? I don't want to go to work. I don't want to do nothing. I just want to go fish. And that was my brothers and I job to make sure my grandmother, if that's all she wanted to do was fish every day, let her fish. Sometimes you'd have my sister take her to the pond and just leave her. Well, Granny, what time you come back? Just come back in about 3 or 4 hours. 3 or 4 hours, she's catching them. She wasn't ready to go. My sister have to wait another hour. Uh, but so that was, but no, I think that's my heart. And then I think I've always asked myself, will I ever love a woman like I love her?
Mm-hmm.
That's the that's the that's what I struggle with.
Mm-hmm. I feel like I know your grandfather through you because I feel like you should write a book of all the. I'm not even joking. Of just the sayings that he has. Do you have a favorite one out of all the sayings that you have said in public on TV? Do you just have a favorite one that just still, 50 years later, it still just cracks you up?
I think the thing that he'd always tell me and my brother, he said, never mistake habit for hard work.
Mm-hmm.
He said, just because you do something over and over doesn't mean you're working hard.
Mm-hmm.
And he was, and I just, and it's funny, because like I said, my grandfather died in 77. I was only 8 years old, but I can tell you everything that he's ever said in my presence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I hung on everything that he said. I can tell you every time he's been upset at me. I can tell you every time my grandmother's upset at me. And I was 43 when my grandmother passed. I can tell you every time from the time that I can remember what my grandmother was upset at me, what I did to make her upset. I can tell you every time my grandfather was upset. I can tell you every word that he uttered in my presence from the time I can remember until the time I was 8 years old. I hung on everything my grandparents said. My grandfather get upset. I remember, my grandmother told my grandfather, she said, Barney, don't be hard. Don't be so hard on that little fella. I was young. I couldn't have been no more than 5 or 6. He said, Mary, he said, I got to make sure he understands it. He said, living on a farm, being around equipment, being around these animals, I might not get a second chance.
Mm-hmm.
So I need him to understand the first time that I tell him something, because I might not get a second chance. And he was very, very hard, even on me. And I was young. I was really, really young, but he wasn't hard on me like he was the others. But he was hard on me for being 5 or 6 years of age, because he wanted me to understand the importance. Um, he used to always say, "Don't make me chew this food twice." I had no idea. I'm like, you're not gonna need to chew that food more than twice, or you're gonna choke. But what he was saying, don't make him repeat himself.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Get one bite.
One time.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he was. First time was thunder. The next time was lightning. You understood that they didn't play back then. Back then, a community raised you.
That's right.
Somebody down the street could whip you. If you did wrong, they could whip you. Then they go tell your grandparents, and then they gonna whip you when you got home.
And what'd you do? Oh, you deserve
Yes.
it. Now they be ready to call DCF.
They don't touch my son. Don't touch my daughter.
DCF in a heartbeat on
It
you
was
now.
It was like, aren't you Mary and Barney, little boy? Yes, ma'am. They know you doing? Yes, ma'am. You sure? Yes, ma'am. Okay. Now don't let me find out they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it was. But my grandparents, they spoke in cliches. They spoke and as I got older, I started understanding. And I was like, why don't you just say what you mean? But that's not how they spoke to us. That's not how they talked to us. And as I got older, I got a greater understanding, because it didn't make a whole lot of sense to me when I was younger. But as I got older and I started to understand, and when I started saying things that they would say, people like, your grandparents spoke. Yeah, that's how they spoke to us. That's how they spoke to us.
So you play for the Broncos. You're winning all pros, Pro Bowls. You win those 2 championships as Shannon Sharpe. Then, as I like to joke, you went over to the Ravens and you morphed into Big Play Shay.
Yeah.
Right? You big play Shay.
Yeah.
When did you know it was over? Like, when? Because there's so many athletes that have such a hard time walking away, and there's some repercussions, whether it's their legacy, their health. When did you know it was over? And then also, did you consult or ask your brother, like, look, this is how I'm feeling? Did you have a conversation with him?
Well, I played in Baltimore for 2 years. We win the championship my first year there.
That's right.
Play another year there, go to the Pro Bowl that year. We go to the playoffs again. We win a playoff game. I go back to Denver. We missed the playoffs by one game. Then the next year we ended up going to the playoffs. And CBS had called my agent and asked would I be interested in interviewing for the NFL Today. And I said, sure.
No hesitation.
No hesitation.
I mean, you're a talker.
But I wasn't. I didn't think about it.
Yeah.
After I interviewed, I remember calling my agent, who's still my agent today, Marvin Demoff.
Mm-hmm.
I said, Marvin, I need to get this job. He said, why? I said, for the first time in 20 plus years, I think I want to do something else other than play football. I knew it was over.
Just like that.
Just like that. That was the first time that I ever thought about doing something other than playing football.
But why in front of the camera? I mean, again, my business partner here, Luis, behind the camera, he calls me a yapper, and you're a talker.
Yeah.
Right, but that doesn't necessarily mean, because I'm sure you've seen someone that between them, they're great, the camera rolls.
Yeah.
Crickets.
Yeah.
Why that role? You could have done almost anything. Why that role?
I didn't really know that I was going to go in TV, but when I was in Denver, I had a radio show. I would go in and fill in. They would ask me, "You want to come in and do sports?"
Mm-hmm.
So I would come in and do local sports. And so I've never been shy. I've always been, charismatic. I could joke and carry on a conversation. I could take things serious and be in a serious discussion, and then a minute later be having fun and cracking jokes. But after I told my brother, because then I was like, man, I really wanted to play 15 years. Because I was like, I got 14 and I felt really, really good. And I had a great off season. I was still in tip-top shape. I was going to go to camp. I was about 232 pounds. I was like 5% body fat. I was ready to go. And my brother said, you get too old to play football. You don't get too old to talk. He said, the job that you're looking for right now, it might not be there next year. Mm-hmm. And then the job that you're going back for, it might not be there next year. Mm-hmm. So now you're out of two jobs. Mm-hmm. When they called, they said, it's your job if you want it. I want it. End up calling Mike. I said, Mike, I really would love to come back. I said, but I'm done.
What'd he say?
He said, he's 84. He called me 84. He said, 84, are you sure? I said, yeah, Mike, I'm done. Mm-hmm. He said, I tell you what, you don't have to make a decision right now. Just take as much time you need, even training camp all the way up to the season. If you want to come back, I already know you're going to be in tip-top shape. Mm-hmm. Just come on back. I said, Mike, it's it.
I'm done.
Yes, I'm done.
Put every time
I remember because I ended up having to do out with EAS at the time, and I had to do a photo shoot. And so I go by, it was the day they were getting ready to report, because at this time they had moved training camp down from Greeley back to Dove Valley. And I go there and I see Mike. Mike looked at me like, "Are you sure?" Mm-hmm. I said, "Yeah, Mike, I'm sure. I'm sure, Mike. I'm sure." But it was really that simple, because it was the first time that I thought about doing something else other than playing football.
Obviously the prep is different, but do you feel like prepping for football, right? Going there, studying tape, the meetings, which I think I've heard you say, like, you just got to the point where the meetings were rough. You just couldn't do them anymore.
I couldn't do it.
Do you feel like that level of preparation helped you, like, assimilate fast? Okay.
Yes, because the same prep and the same obsession that I have for the game of football, I have it in my prep and media. Mm-hmm. It's unrelenting. I'm a worker. I didn't take vacations then. I don't take vacations now. I just want to be the best I can possibly be. And I know it doesn't guarantee, hard work doesn't guarantee you anything. Mm-hmm. And that's what when I talk to kids and when I give speaking engagements, I said, hard work doesn't guarantee you anything. Mm-hmm. I say, but without it, you don't have a chance.
That's right. You're right.
Because there are a lot of people that work hard and it doesn't work out for them. But I just know, based on what I've been able to do throughout the course of my career, is that I've worked hard and things have come to fruition. And so I take that same exact approach, the way I prepared for Club Shay, Nightcap, when I was on Fox, when I was at ESPN, at CBS. it was unrelenting. The hours and hours of trying to understand, trying to bring the fan inside the locker room, bring the fan inside the huddle, bring the fan onto the field to get them inside. This is what I'm thinking. This is what I think that player is thinking in this situation. And so, yes, the same dogged approach.
When we were interviewing a couple of months ago for Forbes, you were telling me about your trip over to France?
Cognac, yeah.
Cognac. And you were saying it was the first time that you've ever had whiskey with ginger ale in it. Is that right?
Yeah, first time I didn't even know the people did a ginger ale with cognac.
Okay.
And the cognac, our cognac is meant to be neat by itself.
Mm-hmm.
It's that good. It needs to be by itself. We don't have to hide anything and add something to it. But this was just a different spin because where we were, the distiller, this is how they were doing it. So I was like, really? I didn't know, because I was like, damn, how did they know I like ginger ale? That's pretty cool. Because a lot of times when you go places, they'll ask, okay, what Shannon likes ginger ale, X, Y, and Z. But I was like, okay. So I'm thinking and then they started adding the cognac to it. I was like, I've never heard of people drinking cognac. Mainly it's Coca-Cola. Put Coke in there. But I liked it.
Can we try?
Yeah, sure.
Some?
Absolutely.
Who are we gonna bring? Oh, we got Jay here.
My partner.
All right.
I don't love doing it with ginger ale.
I thought we did at least a Cuba Ice too.
We'll try a little bit. Okay. This is my first time. I've never ever had it with ginger ale. This is good.
It's very good. It is very good. Yeah. Now we talking. Now we talking.
Now we switching it out. We do a little switch. Hand it. Can we cheers this, brother?
Absolutely.
All right. Cheers.
Let me know what you think.
Okay. I got a Cuba Ice. So I feel, I mean, we can talk more about this later, but I feel like this is something that for like an introduction to someone. Whiskey can be hard on the palate.
Yes.
For someone young.
Yes.
We'll keep gender out of it. Yeah. Wherever it is, it could be a lot. This is an easy way.
Easy. But I think the thing is because we don't add sugars, we don't add artificial flavors, so you're not going to get that thump. We don't have the burn that goes down. So we're not trying to put hair on your chest. So this is really nice and smooth. We've done a lot. As you mentioned, the approach that I took in football, the approach that I took in media, I took the same approach. I learned as much as I could about being. I'm not an ambassador. I'm a partner in this. So I needed to learn. So Jay gave me books, and I understood the process, and I understood the type of grapes that we were going to use, the Uni Blanc and the Petite Champagne, and the process, the wooden bucket, the wooden pots, and it has to originate, and it has to be in cognac for 2 years for it to be called a cognac. Wine, you can grow it in Oregon, you can grow it in California, in Italy, or wherever the case may be. That's not the case with this. It has to originate in the first 2 years. It has to be over there, and it has to go through the process, be it a VSOP, an XO, an XXO, and then the higher end you go. So I learned as much as I could, having the virgin palate that I had, but I like the process. I like learning. I like knowing. And then when people come ask, I don't have to look like that's what Jay's for, or that's what Ian's for. That's what No. When you come talk, it because my name is on it. So what happens when Ian and Jay and Rose what happens when they're not around and someone is asking me something about a product that I'm endorsing that my name is on?
Your grandmother.
How do I explain that? He don't know what he's talking about. He's just an ambassador. So no, I feel very good. I feel very comfortable talking to people about this product. We went down to Cognac, spent like 3 days down there. Hopefully we got the XO coming out real soon in the next 6 to 12 months. I'll say that. We're gonna add another product to the lineup. But the VSOP has done really, really well. We've had the limited edition release, which was the first 25,000 bottle release. We had release that was the Hall of Fame edition, where the inlay you see my brother and I,
that's right,
and the bust. That was a 2,500 thing, 2,500 bottle release. But everybody that's tried it, and I was like, look, I want you to be honest. you're not gonna hurt my feelings. But everybody that's tried it, they love it. Everybody that's tried it on camera, they're like, nah, this is really good. This is really good. And some people like really, really know cognac and no spirits. And some people like, nah, it's okay. But I like it doesn't burn. It doesn't, it doesn't give you that aftertaste. And so that's what we're most proud of. We have a product that not only tastes good, but it's award winning. Normally, you get award winning, it's like, man, that don't taste good. It just looks presentable. But we believe that we've developed a product that not only tastes good, but it'll win wars in the process.
And it means something.
It absolutely means something to have. If somebody would have told me this 10 years ago, somebody would have told me 20 years ago that, you're going to have a spirit and it's going to be, people are going to really like it and it's going to be really popular. I'm like, man, get out of here. But it just goes to show you when you put your mind to something and you roll up your sleeves and you say, I want this really, really bad. And you put the time, the effort, and the energy into it. Like you do all things, there's no shortcuts. You have to learn. You have what you don't know. And see, that's the thing that I'm not afraid of. I'm willing to partner with people or hire people to protect they're my rear view. So they protect my blind spots. What I didn't know, Jay did know. And when I can tell Jay about advertising in the digital space and the marketing, that's where I can help. He can teach me about this is the process and the steps that you go through. This is how it's made. This is how long it needs to be. This is X, Y, and Z. So you need people that can play off. You don't need 5 centers. You don't need 5 point guards. Everybody has a position to play.
And a role.
And you play that role, you play your position, and then great things happen. And we don't care. I don't care about, my brothers tell us all the time, you don't realize how successful you can be as long as you don't care who gets the credit.
That's right.
I don't care. At the end of the day, this is a group project. This is not somebody getting an A and then no work. Everybody does work. Whether it's sending out blasting emails, whether it's jumping on calls, whether it's talking to distributors, whether it's talking to the growers. My job is what it is. Everybody has a job. Everybody serves a role in this. So it's going to be as successful as it is, it'll be everybody's success.
Speaking of success, so I hear you you have a bottle signing here in Vegas at
I do.
Smith that you got to run to. Is it okay that I roll with you in the car?
Come on along, bro.
There?
Ride along.
Do a little bit more chatting?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's head on out.